Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Neptune's Dream and watched the stars through the main window. His ship had been traveling through space for 3 weeks now. They were far from Earth, near the edge of a star system called Kepler 442. Jake's job was simple: find new planets and study any life they might contain. "Captain, we're getting a strange signal," said Pete Williams from his spot at the communications desk. Pete was young, maybe 25, with bright eyes that always seemed excited about something new. Jake walked over to Pete's station. "What kind of signal?" "It's weak, sir. Coming from about 2 hours away at our current speed. Looks like a distress call, but it's not in any language our computers know." Dr. Lisa Grant looked up from her science station. She was the ship's expert on alien life, though they had never actually found any before. "Captain, if it's truly an alien signal, this could be the discovery of a lifetime." Jake frowned. Earth's government had strict rules about first contact with alien species. They were supposed to observe only, never interfere. But a distress call was different, wasn't it? "Set course for the signal," Jake decided, "but keep our weapons ready just in case." The Neptune's Dream changed direction and headed toward the unknown signal. As they got closer, their sensors began to pick up more details. "Captain," called out Commander Ryan Blake from the security station. Ryan was a military man through and through, always careful, always thinking about danger. "I'm reading a small ship, definitely not human design. It's spinning slowly and shows no power signs." "Life signs?" Jake asked. Dr. Grant checked her instruments. "One life form aboard. The readings are strange, but it's definitely alive. Whatever it is, it won't be alive much longer. That ship's life support is failing fast." Jake felt his heart rate increase. This was it. First contact with an alien species. But the alien was dying, and he had to make a choice fast. "Ryan, prep a rescue shuttle. Lisa, you're with the rescue team. I want to know everything about this alien the moment we bring it aboard." "Sir," Ryan said carefully, "regulations say we should contact Earth Command first." "That alien will be dead before we get an answer from Earth," Jake replied. "We're saving a life first, following regulations second." The rescue mission took 30 minutes. Jake watched through the shuttle's cameras as his crew members carefully cut through the alien ship's hull. The ship was beautiful in a strange way, all curves and flowing lines, nothing like the angular human ships. When they found the alien, even Jake was shocked. The creature looked almost human, but clearly wasn't. It had pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. Its hair was white like snow and moved as if it was underwater. Most striking were its eyes, large and silver, now closed in unconsciousness. "It's female," Dr. Grant reported over the radio. "At least I think so. Her body shape suggests it." "Her?" Jake asked. "She looks female to me. And Captain, she's beautiful. I've never seen anything like her." They brought the alien aboard the Neptune's Dream and took her straight to the medical bay. Dr. Amy Foster, the ship's doctor, was waiting with her equipment ready. "Her body temperature is lower than human normal," Dr. Foster reported as she worked. "But her heart is beating and she's breathing. I think she'll live." Jake stood beside the medical bed and looked down at the alien woman. She was indeed beautiful, in a way that was both familiar and completely foreign. Her skin had tiny scales that caught the light, and her fingers were longer than human fingers, ending in what looked like small claws. "Any idea what species she is?" Jake asked Dr. Grant. "Nothing in our databases. This is completely new, Captain. We're looking at the first contact between humans and an intelligent alien species." Suddenly, the alien's silver eyes opened. She looked around the medical bay with confusion, then fear. When she saw the humans standing around her, she tried to sit up quickly and made sounds that might have been words. "Easy," Dr. Foster said gently, holding up her hands to show she meant no harm. "You're safe." But the alien didn't understand. She looked at each human face with growing panic. She tried to speak again, but the sounds meant nothing to the humans. "We need to establish communication," Dr. Grant said. "Pete, can you bring the universal translator down here?" While Pete ran to get the translation equipment, the alien woman became more agitated. She pointed at herself and said something that Sounded like Zara. Then she pointed at the humans and made questioning sounds. "I think she's trying to tell us her name," Jake said. He pointed to himself and said slowly, "Jake, I am Jake." The alien, who they now thought was named Zara, repeated, "Jake," with a strange accent. Then she pointed at herself again and clearly said, "Zara." But communication got harder from there. Zara seemed to think she was a prisoner. She kept looking toward the door and making upset sounds. When Dr. Foster tried to examine her more closely, Zara pulled away and backed against the wall. "She thinks we captured her," Ryan observed. "She doesn't understand we rescued her. How do we explain that we found her ship dying in space?" Jake wondered aloud. Dr. Grant tried drawing pictures on a tablet, showing Zara's ship and their rescue. But Zara only seemed more confused and frightened. Then something happened that changed everything. Zara began to smell different. The air in the medical bay took on a sweet, sharp scent that made the humans feel dizzy. "Captain," Dr. Foster said with concern, "our air sensors are detecting unknown chemicals. I think she's releasing some kind of pheromones when she's scared." "Are they dangerous?" Jake asked. "I don't know, but we should put her in isolation until we understand what's happening." This was exactly the wrong thing to do. When security officers came to move Zara to an isolation room, she panicked completely. She made loud, frightening sounds and tried to run. The humans had to gently force her into the isolation chamber. From behind the transparent wall, Zara looked at them, with what could only be described as betrayal and terror. She had clearly decided that the humans were her enemies. "This is bad," Jake said quietly. "She thinks we kidnapped her." "Captain," Pete called from his communication station, "I'm picking up signals from deep space. Multiple ships heading this way fast." Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "How many ships?" "At least 20, sir, and they're big." As Jake looked at Zara trapped behind the isolation wall, he realized their first contact with aliens was about to become much more complicated. Somewhere out there, someone was looking for the beautiful alien woman they had tried to save. And, though someone's probably thought the humans had taken her by force. The Neptune's dream suddenly felt very small and very alone in the vast darkness of space. 3 hours after they rescued Zara, the Neptune's dream was no longer alone in space. Captain Jake Morrison watched his main screen with growing worry as 20 large ships appeared on their sensors. "They're definitely not human ships," reported Commander Ryan Blake. "The design is similar to the small ship we found Zara in, but much bigger. These are warships, Captain." Jake nodded grimly. In the isolation room below, Zara had not stopped making distressed sounds. Every time a human came near the window, she backed away and released more of those strange-smelling chemicals. "Any word from Earth Command?" Jake asked. Pete Williams shook his head. "Still waiting for a response, sir. It takes 6 hours for messages to reach Earth from here and 6 hours back." "We don't have 12 hours, Jake muttered. Dr. Lisa Grant entered the bridge looking tired and frustrated. "Captain, I've been studying Zara's biology. Those chemicals she releases when she's scared, they're not just pheromones. Her body is designed to warn her people when she's in danger." "Warn them how?" "I think other members of her species can smell these chemicals from very far away. She's basically been sending a distress signal with her own body for the past 3 hours. Jake felt his stomach drop. "So her people know exactly where she is. And they know she's terrified," Dr. Grant added. On the main screen, the alien ships began to form a circle around the Neptune's dream. They were beautiful ships, all flowing curves and smooth surfaces, but they were also clearly built for war. Weapons could be seen mounted along their hulls. "Incoming transmission," Pete announced. "It's from the alien ships." "Put it on screen." The face that appeared was clearly related to Zara, but older and male. He had the same blue skin and silver eyes, but his face was harder, marked by years of command. When he spoke, his voice was deep and full of anger. "I am Admiral Keth Morhan of the Zephyrian Empire," the alien said in accented but clear English. "You have taken my daughter. Return her immediately or face the consequences." Jake stepped forward. "Admiral, I am Captain Jake Morrison of the human ship Neptune's Dream. We found your daughter's ship damaged and dying in space. We rescued her. The Admiral's silver eyes grew cold. Lies. Our sensors detected her fear scent coming from your ship. If you had rescued her, she would not be afraid. She's afraid because she can't understand us, Jake tried to explain. We're trying to help her, but we can't communicate properly. More lies, Admiral Keth Morhan snarled. My daughter was investigating reports of pirates in this sector. Now we find her aboard a strange alien ship broadcasting terror. You attacked her vessel and took her prisoner. Jake realized the terrible misunderstanding. To Zara's people, everything looked like a kidnapping. A damaged ship, their daughter aboard an alien vessel, and her own biology telling them she was in mortal fear. Admiral, please listen, Jake said desperately. We have recording of the rescue. We can show you. Silence, the Admiral roared. I have heard enough of your deceptions. You have 1 hour to return my daughter unharmed. If you do not, we will take her back by force. The screen went dark. Ryan Blake immediately began checking the ship's weapons and shields. Captain, we can't fight 20 warships. Our best bet is to run. We can't run, Jake said firmly. If we try to escape with Zara aboard, they'll think we're kidnapping her for sure. They'll hunt us across the galaxy. Dr. Amy Foster's voice came over the communication system from the medical bay. Captain, you need to come down here. Something's happening with our guest. Jake hurried to the medical bay with Dr. Grant. They found Zara collapsed on the floor of the isolation room, breathing heavily. Her skin had lost its shimmer and looked pale. She's making herself sick, Dr. Foster explained. The stress chemicals she's been producing are poisoning her own system. If she doesn't calm down soon, she could die. Can we give her something to help? Jake asked. I don't dare. I don't know how her body works. Human medicine might kill her faster. Dr. Grant stared at Zara through the isolation window. We need to get her out of there. The isolation is making everything worse. But what about the chemicals she's releasing? Dr. Foster asked. They could be toxic to us. I've been analyzing them, Dr. Grant said. They're not toxic, just overwhelming, like very strong perfume. We can handle short exposure. Jake made a decision that would change everything. Open the isolation room. Bring her to regular medical bay. Sir, Ryan's voice came through the speakers. The alien ships are moving closer. They're taking attack positions. When they moved Zara to the regular medical bay, something unexpected happened. Away from the isolation chamber, her panic began to decrease slightly. She still looked frightened, but she stopped making the distressed sounds. Dr. Grant sat down near Zara's bed and spoke gently. Zara, we want to help you. We're not your enemies. Zara looked at Dr. Grant with those large silver eyes. For a moment, Jake thought he saw understanding there, but then Zara spoke rapidly in her own language, pointing toward the ceiling where she somehow knew the alien ships waited. I think she's trying to tell us something about her people, Dr. Grant said. Pete Williams burst into the medical bay. Captain, Earth Command is responding to our first message. They're ordering us to avoid contact with the aliens at all costs. We're supposed to leave the area immediately. What about Zara? Jake asked. They want us to bring her to Earth for study. Jake felt anger rise in his chest. Earth Command wanted to treat Zara like a specimen, not a person. Meanwhile, her father wanted to start a war to get her back. Sir? Ryan's voice came through the speakers again. The aliens are sending another message. Back on the bridge, Admiral Keth Morhan's face filled the screen again. This time he looked even angrier. Human vessel, he said with ice in his voice. Our sensors show you have moved my daughter to a different location on your ship. This proves you are conducting experiments on her. You have 45 minutes to return her, or we begin our attack. Admiral, please, Jake began. 45 minutes, the Admiral repeated and cut the transmission. Jake looked around his bridge at his crew. Pete looked scared. Ryan was busy preparing for battle they couldn't win. Dr. Grant was dividing her time between studying Zara and trying to find a way to communicate with her. Captain, Dr. Grant said suddenly, I have an idea. What if we let Zara talk to her father directly? If she could tell him what really happened. She can't speak English, Jake pointed out. No, but maybe she could show him she's not being hurt. If he could see her, see that we're trying to help. It was a desperate plan, but Jake was running out of options. Pete, can you set up a visual link between the medical bay and the Admiral's ship? I can try, sir. As Pete worked on the communications link, Jake went back to the medical bay. Zara was sitting up now, looking more alert. When she saw Jake, she didn't back away this time. Zara, Jake said gently, pointing to himself. Friend. He pointed to her. Friend. Zara repeated the word, friend, with her strange accent. She pointed to Jake and said, friend, again, but her voice was uncertain. That's right, Jake smiled. Friend. But when Pete announced that the communication link was ready, and Zara saw her father's face on the screen, everything changed again. She began speaking rapidly in her own language, pointing at the humans around her. Jake couldn't understand the words, but he could hear the fear and confusion in Zara's voice. Whatever she was telling her father, it wasn't helping their situation. Admiral. Keth Morhan's face grew darker as he listened to his daughter. When she finished speaking, he looked directly at Jake through the screen. My daughter tells me you have been kind to her, but she also says you have imprisoned her and filled her air with strange smells. She is confused and afraid. This only proves that you have damaged her mind with your experiments. The communication ended, and Jake realized that their attempt to prove their innocence had only made things worse. In the Admiral's mind, the humans had not only kidnapped his daughter, but had also hurt her mentally. 30 minutes until they attack, Ryan reported quietly. Jake looked at Zara, who was now crying. Her tears were clear, like human tears, but they seemed to glow slightly in the medical bay's lights. She was just a young woman far from home, caught in a misunderstanding that might start the first war between humans and aliens, and Jake had no idea how to stop it. 20 minutes before the alien attack was supposed to begin, everything changed again. This time it wasn't the Zephyrians who made things complicated. It was Jake's own people. Captain Morrison, came a stern voice over the communication system. This is General Alex Carter of Human Space Command. You will immediately prepare to hand over the alien specimen to our incoming fleet. Jake's blood went cold. General, what incoming fleet? We have dispatched 12 warships to your location. They will arrive in approximately 4 hours. You will maintain your current position and avoid any further contact with the hostile aliens until our fleet arrives. Dr. Lisa Grant looked up from her work with Zara. They're calling her a specimen, she said with disgust. General, Jake said carefully. The alien's name is Zara. She's not a specimen. She's a person, and her father commands 20 warships that are about to attack us. Captain Morrison, you will follow orders. Our scientists need to study this creature to understand the alien threat. Your personal feelings are irrelevant. Jake looked at Zara, who was watching the conversation with growing understanding. Even though she couldn't speak English well, she was clearly intelligent enough to understand that the humans were talking about her like she was a thing, not a person. General, I respectfully refuse those orders, Jake said. The silence on the communication line stretched for long seconds. Captain, did you just refuse a direct order from Space Command? Yes, sir, I did. You are relieved of command. Commander Blake will take control of your vessel. All eyes turned to Ryan Blake, who stood frozen at his security station. Jake watched, his friend's face struggle with the choice between following orders and doing what was right. Sir, Ryan said slowly, I also refuse those orders. Then Lieutenant Davis will take command. The general snapped. Lieutenant Sophie Davis was the youngest officer on the bridge, barely 23 years old. She looked terrified as everyone stared at her. General, she said in a shaky voice, I also refuse. One by one, every officer on the bridge refused to follow the general's orders. Jake felt proud of his crew, but he also knew they had just made themselves criminals in the eyes of Earth Command. This is mutiny, General Carter said coldly. When our fleet arrives, you will all be arrested. If we're still alive when your fleet arrives, Jake replied. We have 18 minutes before Zara's people attack us. He cut the communication line and turned to his crew. Anyone who wants to leave can take the escape pods. I won't think less of you. Nobody moved. All right then, Jake said. We need a plan. Dr. Grant suddenly stood up from beside Zara's medical bed. Captain, I think I might have found something important. She led Jake to her science station, where she had been analyzing data from Zara's damaged ship. Look at these sensor readings from her vessel. These marks on the hull. They're from energy weapons, but not Zephyrian energy weapons. How do you know? I've been studying the design of the ships outside. Their weapons use a different kind of energy. These marks on Zara's ship were made by something else entirely. Jake felt a spark of hope. Pirates? Has to be. Zara wasn't investigating pirates when she was attacked. She was attacked by pirates. But how do we prove that to her, Father? Lieutenant Davis, who had been quietly working at her station, suddenly spoke up. Captain, I've been watching Zara through the medical bay cameras, the way she moves. I think it might be a kind of language. What do you mean? Watch. Sophie pulled up the video recording on her screen. See how she moves her hands when she's upset? And the way she tilts her head when she's confused? I think Zephyrians communicate with body language as much as with words. Jake watched the recordings. Sophie was right. Zara's movements were too precise and repeated to be random. If we could understand her body language, maybe we could communicate better, Sophie continued. Dr. Grant nodded excitedly. Sophie, you're brilliant. Can you work with the computer to try to translate her movements? As Sophie began working on the body language translation, Jake made another difficult decision. He opened a communication channel to Admiral Keth Morhan. Admiral, I know you don't trust us, but I need 5 more minutes of your time. The Admiral's angry face appeared on screen. You have 15 minutes until we attack. Speak quickly. We believe your daughter was attacked by pirates, not damaged by accident. We have proof. More lies. Look at this data from her ship. Jake transmitted the sensor readings that Dr. Grant had found. These weapon marks don't match your ship's weapons. They're from a different technology entirely. Admiral Keth Morhan studied the data for several long moments. Jake could see doubt beginning to form in the alien commander's silver eyes. This proves nothing, the Admiral said, but his voice was less certain. You could have created this data. Why would we? Admiral, think about this logically. If we wanted to hurt your daughter, why would we save her life? Why would we try to heal her? Perhaps you wanted her alive for your experiments. Jake felt frustration building. Admiral, your daughter is right here. Let me show you something. He nodded to Pete, who switched the camera view to the medical bay. Zara was sitting on the edge of the medical bed, no longer restrained, no longer isolated. Dr. Grant sat nearby, showing Zara pictures on a tablet and speaking gently to her. Doesn't this look like we're experimenting on her? Jake asked. Look at her body language. Does she look like a prisoner? Admiral Keth Morhan leaned forward, studying his daughter's image carefully. Jake realized that as her father, the Admiral would be an expert at reading Zara's body language. She is calmer, the Admiral admitted slowly. Because we're not her enemies, Jake said. We found her dying in space and saved her life, that's all. For the first time, the Admiral seemed uncertain. If this is true, if pirates attacked her ship, then those pirates are still out there, Jake finished, and they might attack other Zephyrian ships. Lieutenant Davis suddenly called out, Captain, I'm getting energy readings from the asteroid field nearby, multiple ships powering up weapons. Pirates? Jake asked. Has to be. They've been hiding in the asteroids, probably waiting to see who wins this fight so they can attack the survivors. Jake opened the communication channel again. Admiral, we have company. Pirate ships are launching from the asteroid field. They're probably the ones who attacked your daughter. Admiral Keth Morhan's face changed instantly from uncertainty to cold rage, but this time his anger wasn't directed at the humans. How many ships? The Admiral asked. Sensors show 8 vessels, Ryan reported. Smaller than your ships, but heavily armed. The Admiral was quiet for a moment, clearly weighing his options. Jake held his breath, knowing that the next few seconds would determine whether humans and Zephyrians would become allies or enemies. "Captain Morrison," the Admiral said finally, "if you are telling the truth about saving my daughter, then I owe you a debt of honor. Will you stand with us against these pirates?" Jake smiled for the first time in hours. "It would be our pleasure, Admiral." "Very well. But after we deal with these criminals, you and I will have words about my daughter's care." "Understood, sir." As the pirate ships emerged from the asteroid field, Jake felt something he hadn't expected. Relief. Not just because the immediate threat of Zephyrian attack was over, but because he was about to fight alongside aliens instead of against them. "All stations, prepare for battle," Jake announced to his crew. "Pete, open a channel to all Zephyrian ships. Tell them we're honored to fight beside them." In the medical bay below, Zara looked up at the ceiling as if she could hear the pirate ships approaching. For the first time since they had rescued her, she smiled. Jake realized she understood what was happening. Her people and the humans were no longer enemies. The first human-alien alliance was about to be forged in battle against a common enemy. But Jake also knew that the real challenge would come after the fighting was over. He still had to convince both Admiral Keth Morhan and his own government that peace between humans and Zephyrians was possible. The pirate ships opened fire, and the battle began. The battle against the pirates lasted only 20 minutes, but those 20 minutes changed everything. The pirate ships were fast and deadly, but they were no match for the combined might of 20 Zephyrian warships and the Neptune's Dream. Jake watched in amazement as the alien vessels moved through space like dancers, their weapons firing with perfect precision. "Their targeting systems are incredible," Ryan Blake observed as he coordinated the Neptune's Dream's much smaller contribution to the fight. "Every shot hits exactly where they want it." "Captain," Pete Williams called out, "the Admiral is requesting that we disable the lead pirate ship instead of destroying it. He wants prisoners." "Do it," Jake ordered. When the battle ended, 3 pirate ships had been destroyed and 5 had been captured. The victory should have brought Jake relief, but instead he felt worried. During the fight, 2 Zephyrian ships had been damaged and 17 Zephyrian warriors had died. Admiral Keth Morhan's face appeared on the communication screen again. This time his expression was unreadable. "Captain Morrison, we have interrogated the pirate prisoners. They confirmed that they attacked my daughter's ship 3 days ago. They left her to die when they realized her vessel carried no valuable cargo." "Then, you know we're telling the truth," Jake said hopefully. "Yes, you saved my daughter's life, and for that I am grateful." The Admiral paused, and Jake sensed there was more coming. "However, 17 of my people died in this battle. 17 warriors who would still be alive if we had not been distracted by this misunderstanding." Jake felt his heart sink. "Admiral, I'm sorry for your losses, but by Zephyrian law," the Admiral continued, "when misunderstandings lead to death, someone must pay with blood. Honor demands it." "But it wasn't our fault," Dr. Grant protested from her station. "We saved Zara. We fought beside you against the real enemy." Admiral Keth Morhan's silver eyes grew cold again. "The fault lies in the misunderstanding itself. If first contact had been handled properly, my warriors would not have died. Someone must answer for this." Jake realized they were back where they started, except now Zephyrian blood had been spilled. In the Admiral's mind, that made everything worse. "What are you asking for?" Jake said quietly. "Zephyrian law is clear. The leader of the group that caused the misunderstanding must pay with his life. You will come aboard my flagship, Captain Morrison, and face justice." The bridge of the Neptune's Dream fell silent. Jake looked around at his crew, seeing fear and anger in their faces. "And if I refuse?" Jake asked. "Then we will take justice by force. My debt to you for saving my daughter does not override my duty to my dead warriors." Jake closed his eyes for a moment, thinking. When he opened them, his decision was made. "I'll come aboard your ship, Admiral, but I want to bring Zara with me. I think she has something to say about all this." "My daughter has no voice in matters of justice," the Admiral replied. "She is not a warrior." "Maybe not," Jake said, "but she's the reason this all started. She should be there." After a long pause, the Admiral nodded. "Very well. You may bring her. But this changes nothing. Justice will be done. An hour later, Jake found himself aboard a Zephyrian shuttle with Zara and Dr. Grant. The inside of the alien shuttle was beautiful, all flowing curves and soft lighting. Zara seemed much more relaxed now that she was in familiar surroundings. During the short trip to the Admiral's flagship, something remarkable happened. Zara began to speak to Dr. Grant in broken English. "You help me," she said slowly, looking into Lisa's eyes. "When scared, you help." Dr. Grant smiled. "Yes, we helped you. We're friends, remember?" "Friends," Zara repeated, then looked at Jake. "Jake, good person. Save Zara life." Jake felt a warmth in his chest. Despite everything that had gone wrong, despite the confusion and fear, Zara understood that they had tried to help her. "Zara," Jake said gently, "your father thinks I should die because his warriors were killed in the battle." Zara's silver eyes went wide. "No," she said firmly. "Jake saved Zara. Not Jake's fault. Pirate's fault. I know that, and you know that. But your father has to follow your people's laws." Zara was quiet for the rest of the journey, but Jake could see her thinking hard about something. The Admiral's flagship was enormous inside, with ceilings so high they disappeared into shadows. Zephyrian warriors lined the corridors, all wearing beautiful armor that seemed to be made of the same flowing materials as their ships. Admiral Kethmore Han waited for them in a vast chamber that Jake guessed was some kind of courtroom. The Admiral stood behind a curved desk that looked like it had been grown rather than built. Other Zephyrian officers stood nearby, their faces serious. "Captain Morrison," the Admiral said formally, "you stand accused of causing a misunderstanding that led to the deaths of 17 Zephyrian warriors. How do you answer?" Jake stood straight and looked the Admiral in the eyes. "I answer that. I did my duty as a starship captain. When I found someone dying in space, I saved their life. I would do the same thing again. Your intentions may have been good, but the result was death. Our law is clear." "Father, no." Zara suddenly stepped forward, speaking in rapid Zephyrian. Jake couldn't understand the words, but he could hear the passion in her voice. The Admiral listened to his daughter with growing surprise. When she finished speaking, he shook his head. "Impossible. You cannot invoke that law. You are not a warrior." "What law?" Jake asked. Dr. Grant had been listening carefully to the exchange. "I think she's invoking some kind of right to choose her own champion's fate." Zara nodded vigorously. "Yes, Zephyrian law. When someone saved your life, you choose their fate. Not father choose, Zara choose." Admiral Kethmore Han looked troubled. "Daughter, this law has not been used in 300 years. It applies only when life debt is owed," Zara interrupted in English. "Jake saved Zara life. Zara owe life debt. Zara choose Jake fate." The other Zephyrian officers began murmuring among themselves. Jake could tell that Zara had surprised everyone, including her father. "Very well," the Admiral said slowly. "The ancient law of life debt supersedes the law of blood justice. What fate do you choose for Captain Morrison?" Jake held his breath. He had put his life in the hands of an alien woman he had known for less than a day. Zara stood tall and spoke clearly. "Zara choose life for Jake, and more. Zara choose to go with Jake people. Learn about humans. Teach humans about Zephyrians. Make peace between peoples." The silence in the chamber was complete. What Zara was proposing was unprecedented. A Zephyrian had never voluntarily lived among aliens before. "Daughter," the Admiral said quietly, "you cannot be serious. To live among aliens, it would be exile from your own people." "Not exile," Zara said firmly. "Ambassador. Make friends between humans and Zephyrians. No more misunderstanding. No more warriors die for nothing." Jake realized what Zara was doing. She was offering herself as the bridge between two species. It was brilliant, brave, and completely unexpected. "Admiral," Jake said, "your daughter is offering to prevent future conflicts between our peoples. She could save thousands of lives, both human and Zephyrian. Admiral Keth Morhan looked at his daughter for a long time. Jake could see the struggle in the alien commander's face. Love for his daughter warred with duty to his people and their traditions. "If I agree to this," the Admiral said finally, "it must be a true exchange. A human must come to live among us to learn our ways as my daughter learns yours." Jake nodded immediately. "Agreed. We'll find a volunteer." "I volunteer," Dr. Grant said suddenly. "I want to learn about Zephyrian biology and culture. This could be the greatest scientific opportunity in human history." Zara smiled and took Dr. Grant's hand. "Friends," she said simply. Admiral Keith Morhan stood silent for several more moments. Finally, he nodded slowly. "Very well. Let it be recorded that the law of life debt has been invoked. Captain Morrison, your life is spared by my daughter's choice. Dr. Grant, you will come with us to learn our ways. And Zara," he looked at his daughter with both pride and sadness, "you will go with the humans and help our peoples understand each other." Jake felt relief flood through him, but he also understood that the real work was just beginning. They had avoided war, but building peace would be much harder. "Thank you, Admiral," Jake said. "I promise we'll take good care of your daughter." "See that you do, Captain Morrison. Because if any harm comes to her while she is under your protection, there will be no law that can save you from my wrath." As they prepared to leave the Zephyrian flagship, Jake realized that first contact between humans and aliens had ended very differently than anyone had expected. Instead of war or conquest, it had led to friendship and understanding. But he also knew that not everyone in the human government would be happy with this arrangement. General Carter and his fleet were still coming, and they would expect to find a captured alien specimen waiting for them. Instead, they would find the beginning of an alliance that would change both species forever. 3 hours after the historic agreement between humans and Zephyrians, General Carter's fleet arrived. 12 massive human warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel and immediately took aggressive positions around the Neptune's Dream. Captain, Jake Morrison stood on his bridge with Zara beside him. The young Zephyrian woman had insisted on being present when the human fleet arrived. She wore a simple blue dress that Dr. Grant had found for her, and her white hair was tied back in a style that looked almost human. "Captain Morrison," General Carter's stern voice filled the bridge. "Prepare to be boarded. You will transfer the alien specimen to our science vessel immediately." Jake looked at Zara, who understood enough English now to know what the general wanted. Her silver eyes showed no fear, only determination. "General Carter," Jake replied calmly, "I'd like you to meet Ambassador Zara Cathel of the Zephyrian Empire. She's here of her own free will as part of a diplomatic exchange between our peoples." The silence from the general's ship stretched for long seconds. When Carter finally spoke, his voice was ice cold. "Captain Morrison, you are under arrest for mutiny, disobeying direct orders, and conducting unauthorized first contact with an alien species. You will surrender yourself and the alien to my custody immediately." "I'm afraid I can't do that, General," Jake said. "Ambassador Zara is under the protection of both human and Zephyrian law. Any attempt to harm her would be an act of war against the Zephyrian Empire." "The alien ships left the area an hour ago," General Carter replied. "They can't protect her now." Jake smiled. Admiral Keth Morhan took most of his fleet to hunt down the remaining pirates in this sector, but he left 2 ships behind to ensure his daughter's safety. "You might want to check your long-range sensors." There was another pause as the human fleet scanned the area. Jake knew what they would find. 2 Zephyrian warships hung motionless in space, far enough away to avoid seeming threatening, but close enough to respond quickly if needed. "This changes nothing," General Carter said finally. "Earth Command has ordered me to secure the alien for study. I have 12 ships to your 1. "Actually, General, you might want to reconsider," came a new voice over the communication system. "This is Admiral Sarah Bennett of the Earth Defense Council. I'm ordering you to stand down." Jake felt surprise and relief. Admiral Bennett was known throughout the human fleet as a reasonable leader who preferred diplomacy to warfare. "Admiral Bennett," General Carter's voice was confused. "What are you doing here?" Cleaning up your mess, Alex. When word reached Earth about Captain Morrison's situation, the Defense Council reviewed his actions. We've decided that his approach to first contact was exactly what we should have done. But our orders were to avoid contact with aliens. Our orders were written by people who never imagined we'd find aliens dying in space, Admiral Bennett replied. Captain Morrison used his judgment to save a life, and in doing so, he may have prevented a war and opened the door to our first alien alliance. Jake watched his main screen as a new ship appeared on sensors. Admiral Bennett's flagship was smaller than the warships General Carter commanded, but it carried the authority of the Earth Defense Council. General Carter, Admiral Bennett continued, you will return to Earth immediately and report to the Defense Council for reassignment. Captain Morrison is hereby reinstated to full command, with commendation for exceptional service under impossible circumstances. As General Carter's fleet began to withdraw, Jake felt the tension leave his shoulders. But the real test was still coming. Captain Morrison, Admiral Bennett said, I'd very much like to meet our new Zephyrian ambassador. An hour later, Admiral Bennett stood in the Neptune's Dreams main conference room with Jake, Zara, and the senior officers. The Admiral was a woman in her 50s with gray hair and kind eyes that missed nothing. Ambassador Zara, Admiral Bennett said carefully, on behalf of the human race, I want to apologize for the confusion and fear you experienced. We never intended to frighten you. Zara stood and performed what Jake had learned was a formal Zephyrian greeting, placing her hands over her heart and bowing slightly. Admiral Bennett, Zara said in her careful English, humans save Zara life. Humans fight beside Zephyrians against pirates. No apology needed. Only friendship needed. Admiral Bennett smiled. I like her already. Captain Morrison, I want you to know that Earth Command is fully supporting this diplomatic exchange. We're assigning you to command a new vessel that will serve as a mobile embassy between human and Zephyrian space. A new ship? Jake asked. The USS Harmony. She's being built specifically for this mission with quarters designed for both human and Zephyrian crews. You'll captain the first truly integrated alien-human vessel in history. Jake felt excitement building. What about my current crew? Anyone who wants to join you on the Harmony is welcome. You've all proven that humans and aliens can work together. Lieutenant Sophie Davis raised her hand tentatively. Admiral, what about Dr. Grant? She's living with the Zephyrians now. Admiral Bennett nodded. Dr. Grant volunteered for the most important assignment in human history. She'll be our first ambassador to an alien civilization. The data she sends back will help us understand our new allies and avoid future misunderstandings. Zara spoke up. Dr. Grant's safe with Zephyrians. My people honor her courage. She learns much, teaches much. Over the following weeks, Jake watched in amazement as the relationship between humans and Zephyrians grew stronger. Zara proved to be a natural ambassador. She was curious about everything human, from food to music to literature. In return, she taught the humans about Zephyrian culture, art, and science. The breakthrough came when Zara demonstrated the Zephyrian ability to share memories through touch. She called it mind melding, and it allowed for perfect communication between species. When she shared her memories of the pirate attack with human investigators, it provided evidence that led to the capture of 3 more pirate groups. It's incredible, Pete Williams said one day as he watched Zara teaching human children about Zephyrian mathematics through a video link to Earth. 6 months ago we thought we were alone in the universe. Now we have alien friends. Jake nodded. The transformation had been remarkable. Fear and misunderstanding had given way to curiosity and friendship. Human and Zephyrian scientists were sharing knowledge that advanced both civilizations. Human artists were creating works inspired by Zephyrian beauty, while Zephyrian poets wrote verses about human courage and adaptability. Captain, Ryan Blake said from his security station. Incoming message from Dr. Grant. Lisa's face appeared on the main screen. She looked healthy and happy, wearing robes in the flowing Zephyrian style. Behind her, Jake could see alien architecture that looked like it had been grown rather than built. Jake, I have amazing news, Lisa said excitedly. The Zephyrians have agreed to a formal alliance treaty. Admiral Keth Morhan wants to meet with Earth's leaders to discuss trade, scientific exchange, and mutual defense agreements. That's wonderful, Lisa. How are you adapting to life there? It's incredible. The Zephyrians have medical technology that could eliminate most human diseases. Their energy systems could solve Earth's power problems. And Jake? Lisa paused, smiling. They've introduced me to 2 other alien species they're allied with. We're not just making friends with the Zephyrians. We're joining a whole community of intelligent species. After the communication ended, Jake stood alone on the bridge looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Dr. Grant was learning about alien civilizations that humans had never dreamed of. Soon, the USS Harmony would be ready, and Jake would command a ship that would explore those civilizations and build new friendships. Captain? Zara's voice came from behind him. She had been spending time on the bridge learning about human technology. Yes, Ambassador? Zara has question. Why did Jake risk life for stranger? Why did humans fight for Zephyrians against pirates? Jake thought about the question. It was something that many Zephyrians had asked. Their culture was based on honor and duty to family and clan. The idea of risking everything for strangers was foreign to them. Because it was the right thing to do, Jake said simply, when we see someone in danger, we help them. It doesn't matter if they're human or alien, life is precious. Zara nodded slowly. This is human way. Humans see stranger in trouble, humans help, even when dangerous, even when no benefit to humans. That's right. Other species not like this. Other species careful, suspicious of strangers, but humans. Humans make friends first, ask questions later. Jake laughed. That probably seems crazy to most aliens. Yes, Zara agreed. But also wonderful. Zephyrians learn much from humans. Learn that universe better place when peoples help each other, instead of fear each other. 6 months later, Jake stood on the bridge of the USS Harmony as it departed Earth for its first official diplomatic mission to Zephyrian space. Half his crew was human, half Zephyrian. In the cargo bay, they carried gifts from Earth, art, music, literature, and food. The Zephyrians had sent similar gifts to Earth. The misunderstanding that had almost started a war had instead become the foundation for the greatest partnership in human history. And it had all started because a human captain decided to save the life of a dying stranger. As the Harmony jumped to faster than light speed, Jake realized that this